Okay, it's great. All right. So today I want to talk about hand portions. There is this is something that is actually a way of tracking calories, and there are there's other methods like counting calories, weighing and measuring your food. There is macro tracking. Hand portions actually combines both your macros as well as calorie tracking and makes it very, very simple. It takes the stress out of trying to weigh and measure your food, especially sometimes it's not really easy or possible, like when you're eating out, or maybe you're trying to finish somebody's leftovers, or you went to somebody's house. So hand portions actually gives you the confidence in order to stay within your guidelines. And the beauty is that you only need to do this for 1 month, 2 months, until you get an idea of how much you should be eating, and then sticking with those foods. Okay, I'm just gonna turn off these dings here. One sec. Close WhatsApp. Sorry. Okay, so where was all right. So this question comes up a lot. Like, a lot of people don't understand for certain, when it gets very, very specific, like, how do I know like what hand portions to use for a slice of pizza? It has carbs, proteins, and fats in it. Or how do I know, for complicated foods and curries and things like that? So I'll start with the basics first of all, and I'll go through a lot of things, and then we'll take questions a little bit towards the end. Okay, so cooked or uncooked measure. Like, how do you decide whether it's cooked or uncooked? So this is, again, a very common question, and the answer is both. Um, the the hand portions are for what goes onto your plate, right? Not for cooking it. So we won't consider raw, but we're going to consider cooked. So ultimately, you portion it out based on how you're going to eat it. If you're going to eat it raw, portion it raw. So that would be like fruits, right? Fruits are not cooked. If you're going to eat it cooked, then portion it cooked. That way, hands can be used to gauge portions at home, at restaurants, buffets, conferences, mom's house, anywhere. So approximate portion sizes, and by the way, I will send this all to you through via email. I have this written out as well, so don't have to worry about taking notes. So yeah, okay. So for women, one palm is approximately 3 to 4 ounces of cooked meat or tofu. It's equivalent to 1 cup of cottage cheese or Greek yogurt, 1 scoop of protein powder, 2 cooked whole eggs. Okay, so that's pretty neat because it's actually a lot of food. If you consider like 1 cup of cottage cheese, I tried to, one day I needed to eat more protein to get, hit my protein goal for that day. And I thought, okay, I just eat a cup of cottage cheese. I couldn't eat more than, you know, like it wasn't even half a cup. It was really hard. So 1 cup of cottage cheese is a pretty big portion. And it's considered, it's basically like an entire meal. All right, so 1 fist. Now fist is your veggies, right, which is equivalent to about 1 cup of veggies. Okay, so if you want to measure it out using tools, you can do this equivalent. 1 hand cup, so when we're doing carbs, is equivalent to about half a cup of cooked grains or medium-sized tuber, like a medium potato, or fruit, like a medium-sized fruit. Okay, so that's, again, to give you an idea of like the handful for carbs, for grains, for what's it called? Starches and fruits. Okay, now 1 thumb for your fat is 1 tablespoon. Okay, so let's get a little bit into a little bit more detail. For the cup of cottage cheese or Greek yogurt and medium-sized tuber or fruit, being a portion of protein and carbs respectively, these were chosen based on common consumption patterns and keeping things consistent and simple as possible. So again, these are approximates. They're not exact measurements because the size, ultimately, it depends on the size of the individual, right? So if a bigger person has a bigger hand and a smaller person has a smaller hand, and their portion sizes should be according to that as well. So if I were to say, hey, you are, what do you call it? Your hand is big, so you can eat like 1 cup of this. So the same person, I can't tell her, oh, your portion size is also 1 cup. Actually, it's a little bit smaller, whatever fits in your cupped hand. Okay, so with these approximate portions, we can create a bunch of various meal scenarios and calculate approximate macros these portions provide. So macros are your proteins, carbs, and fats. This helps those of you who are number oriented to compare their measuring and scales versus just using the hand. So if you really want to, or if you can weigh and measure your food, this is how you're going to do it. So for women, each palm contains approximately 22 grams of protein, 2 grams of carbs, 4 grams of fat, and that's at around 130 calories. So this shows you that when I say hand portion, like your palm, your protein, it's also taking into account that with this protein, there's going to be some carbs and fats attached. Okay, it's not just purely protein, which is why if we're doing like curries, soups, vegetable stews, things like that, it's all right. You still, because we are taking into account that there will be other macronutrients mixed into it. So again, each palm for the protein portion is 22 grams of protein, 2 grams of carbs, 4 grams of fat, and about 130 calories. Each fist, which is your vegetables, is about 1.5 grams of protein, 5 grams of carbs, no fat, so that's 25 calories, right? So a fist is actually not a lot of vegetables, so we're just 5 grams of carbs. Okay, each handful, which is for your carbohydrates, like grains or breads or rice, is about 3 grams of protein, 22 grams of carbs, 1 gram of fat, and approximately 110 calories. And the last thing is the thumb, which is about 2 grams of protein, 2 grams of carbs, 8 grams of fat, and 90 calories. Okay, so again, can't be emphasized enough that these are approximations, but these approximations work very, very beautifully because I've seen the data comparing this to actual calorie counting, and so many times, because calorie counting can be inaccurate as well, so many times the hand portions have actually done better than calorie counting. Okay. All right, so the system, like I said, it assumes a mixed intake, right? So this is the hand portion system assumes that, women will eat a mixed intake of proteins, veggies, carbs, and fats. And these food sources will have varying amounts of each macro. So let's look at example. For perhaps you start the day with eggs, like a high fat protein source. And then you have a mid-morning super shake, which has very lean protein powder. Then you have a chicken breast for lunch, again, a very lean protein source. And then you have salmon for dinner, which is a moderately lean protein source because salmon has higher amounts of fat, right? So the system assumes this is the case and that you will get a moderate amount of fat and even a small amount of carbs from protein sources on average, right? So for example, Greek yogurt has actually, it does have carbs in it. And some protein powders have carbs, and of course, like beans, right? Beans are considered to be, depending on whether you're vegan, vegetarian, or not, it could be a protein or your carb source. So again, overall, the system assumes that some of your protein sources will be relatively fat rich. So if we're having beef, it tends to have fat in it, and maybe sausages, again, it has fat. So if you are consistently eating lots of fat rich protein sources, so if you eat a lot of sausages and a lot of fish, you could use, what do you call it? You could take from your fat portions. So let's say you're allowed 3 fat portions a day. So you could take one of it out because you're eating very fatty protein sources. Okay, so those are some of the adjustments that I'll just show you how to make every single week or 2 weeks. All right, so um, okay, so then the same assumptions is also made for the other macros, right? So that is why you shouldn't count a food towards 2 categories unless you have unless you're very, very advanced and you know exactly what you're doing. Otherwise, we just start off very simple and we just say this is 1 portion of carbs and this is 1 portion of fats, even though it has mixed amounts in it. So, Noor, when you said, when you yesterday or the day before, we were talking about milk and what's it called? Yogurt being protein sources. And I was like, no, they're carbs. So you're right, actually. That's what the guide does say. And I was just thinking in terms of like the actual macros. So from a hand portions point of view, you can count that towards your protein source. But then as you get advanced and you learn actually a little bit more, you'll notice that it'll slowly move towards your carb sources. But again, like we just we progress through it. Okay. All right, so another question I got was, what about the thickness of the protein? So yeah, the thickness of your palm is the thickness of your protein. We use it like the same way. So that's that's why this is the protein portion, because the thickness helps in the determining how much you should be eating, right? So some chicken breasts are like really thick, and if it's the size of your palm, then that you would count that as about 1.5 to 2 portions of your protein. Okay, so let's talk about items that don't fit well. Okay, so some items are not going to fit well because obviously this is approximations, and there isn't a single system that can really like provide you with, I mean, for example, like in Pakistani cuisine, in ours, like the base, the curry or the stew, there's like 50,000 different ingredients. Like you're like, is this a protein, carb, or fat? What is this, right? So that's okay. There is a way, like, we just want to be practical about this. And what happens is it's really not about, hitting that goals, and that's what's going to make you lose weight. What makes you lose weight is how well you implement the habits every single day. So eating slowly, eating until you're 80% full, like eating mindfully, right? And what do you call it? Really slowing down to chew your food. These habits help you lose weight more effectively because they are making you eat less than maybe what you were used to, but you are getting fuller with lesser amount of food. Like that feeling of fullness comes because you've really slowed down your eating. You've probably heard of the fact that it takes your brain about 20 minutes to get the hunger signal, like that it's full, not the hunger, the full signal, right? So I start eating, maybe I've had let's say I had 1 slice of pizza. Now we know that we will survive and we will actually be very, very okay with 1 slice of pizza because it's probably like 600 to 800 calories. Let's say 600 calories. Okay, let's to be on this now, or maybe even 500 calories. 500 calories for 1 meal is actually pretty decent. However, we don't really eat pizza in like a slow and savory manner. We're not like, this is so good. I can taste the cheese and the sauce and the bread. And then you're like, you're really enjoying it and you're taking time. Normally, I mean, at least I can speak for myself, is that when I eat pizza, I'm eating with the intention that I will eat 2 more slices. So what's that done for me is that I've eaten it really fast. I didn't stop to slow down to enjoy it. My brain is a little confused because it's like, why is this person eating when like when so much food has already gone in, but this person's still eating. So maybe the body is hungry and maybe it needs, anyways, this kind of confusion in the brain causes an untimely release of the satiety and the hunger hormones, right? So there's the leptin and the ghrelin, and probably so many more hormones that monitor and they track your signals, like your hunger and fullness signals. So what happens is they're not released at the right time. Now, if I ate slowly and mindfully, as is the sunnah of our Prophet, peace be upon him, and I really enjoy it, and I really ate with gratitude, and I'm so thankful for every single bite that's going into my body, and it's nourishing me, and I'm very, focused on the flavor, and I'm really enjoying. I can tell, one vegetable apart from another, then my body is in like high gear. The hormones are optimized, they're being released at the right time in the right amounts, and the receptors are ready to release those hormones. These hormones are not getting stuck somewhere else, and your body works beautifully. Okay, so what happens is that need for those 2 extra slices slowly goes away. And I actually wanted to share with you some transformations of people that these are called hand portion transformations, where people practiced using hand portions, including like fitness professionals, like ordinary people, yes, but including fitness professionals, to get like 6-pack abs. And I was just reading an article about that just before I got onto this live, and it's amazing. It's really, really amazing, because what committing to these habits can do for your body. So it's a different than a diet mindset, where a diet is like about restricting, and then our body wants it more, and then all we end up doing all day long is fighting it and feeling sorry for ourselves that I can't eat something. With the hand portions, in conjunction with the habits, you continue to eat the things that you enjoy. You're just slowing down, and you're noticing more of what's going into your body. Now, granted that we can't do this with every single meal. It's like, who has the time to like spend I don't know, 3 hours a day eating just 3 meals. So if you can't do it for 3 meals, we're going to do it at least for 1 meal. And then other meals, we're going to tell ourselves, okay, I'm eating fast, but I know I shouldn't be. We're still going to train our brains to understand that this isn't normal. And I like at another point, I will make an effort to slow down, so that at least you're not, you're not, like, let me think. Yeah, so you want your you want your body to still know that there is a better way. It's just right now you're rushed. So if you constantly remind yourself, then that means that you're constantly improving yourself. But if you aren't like subconsciously making an effort to tell yourself that, oh, I'm eating this in a rushed mood, but I do need to be eating this slowly. It's just this one time because I'm short on time. If you don't do that, then, and if you just eat, then you don't break that habit, right? So even with 1 meal a day that's eaten slowly and mindfully, practicing the habits as when you get the lessons, you can make huge, huge differences. Okay, so, all right, where am I? Items that don't fit well. So like, let's say the most problematic are liquids. Cow's milk. Cow's milk and even regular yogurt are tricky, as they're a pretty even mix of all 3 macros, right? So they can even vary depending on the fat level somebody chooses. So there's whole, low fat, skim, etc. Ultimately, I would make that call on what fat level of milk or yogurt you're generally consuming, right? A serving of whole milk products, I'd consider a thumb of fat, even though it's larger than a thumb. And it provides proteins and carbs. So anything lower in fat, I would probably consider a handful of carbs. So again, right now, if you're finding it hard to meet your protein goals, then you can use milk and yogurt as your protein. However, I think, most of you, most of you have done diets. Most of you have like a really good idea of food. So I think it's safe for you like to consider yourself advanced in this and put your milk and yogurt in carbs and not in protein. Okay, so I give you permission to do that. I know I'm taking away your carb portions, but in the long run, it will really do you good. Okay, so treat your milk and yogurt as carbs and not protein. But if you're really struggling with that, then it's okay. Treat them as carbs. Ultimately, it's not this that's going to fuel your weight loss. It's the habits that are going to fuel your weight loss. All right. So, the key, like I said, is to keeping approach and apply consistently. And this is probably more important than the actual classification itself. The consistency is more important. Okay, let's talk about soda. A serving of soda doesn't really fit into a cup can, right? Like a 12-ounce can of soda as a cup handful of carbs, 8-ounce would probably be preferable from a physical size and macros. So it'd be more like 1.5. So it's up to you. You could do like 1.5, or you could just drink less or something like that. And of course, if you are doing sugar-free, Coke Zero, any of that, then you don't really have to count it because it's 0 calories. Nut milk. So nut milks are much like cow's milk. They tend to provide a mix of macros depending on the source.
Sorry to interrupt you, Humaira. I think you covered your mic or something because your voice is now muffled and we can't hear you.
Okay.
Can you repeat the last part, please?
Is this better?
Yeah, after you talked about the milk and yogurt being either carbs or fat, can you repeat what you said?
So I was saying that the key is to pick an approach and apply it consistently. It's better if you choose them as carb sources. But if you're struggling with that, then it's okay. You can put them under protein and then enjoy more carbs right now. However, whatever you do it consistently. I think at some point you do want to start considering them, like as you get better at tracking your hand portions and you start seeing results, then it'll benefit you more to put those under carbs. So consistency and following the habits is what's going to fuel the weight loss, not whether you sit and consider is this like carbs or protein for yogurt and for regular yogurt and whole milk. Not so much for like other things. Other things are very clear. Like you can say, hey, I'm going to count meat as a carb. So I'm only talking specifically about yogurt and milk, whole milk. Okay, so then I talked about soda, and soda you could consider it as 1.5 carb serving. If it's like a full can, which is about 12 ounces, and if it is sugar-free soda, then you don't really have to count it because it's 0 calories. So the next thing was nut milks. Nut milks are much like cow's milk. They tend to provide a mix of macros. So depending on the source, and then their classification would also depend on whether they are sweetened or not, right? So many unsweetened versions, you don't even need to count it because it's just like 30 or 40 calories in a whole cup. But a sweetened version, like if you're drinking sweetened nut milk, then probably it would count as a carb source. Okay, so again, be consistent every single time. All right, so mixed food meals. So this is where it gets tricky, and you really have to eyeball the food in the meal. If you're not able to, let's say you didn't cook it or it was prepackaged or you're eating somewhere else, then you will have to eyeball. But otherwise, you can probably get an idea of how much food you put or what the breakdown is, right? So ultimately, the general goal in a plate. So if you have like your Okay, so if you have your trying to balance my laptop. If you have your plate, so you want approximately as close to half as possible with veggies. And that can include like your stews, right? Because mostly veggie water based. And then divide the other half between protein and carbs. Protein and carbs. Okay, so the general goal is to get a protein, vegetable, quality carb, and a healthy fat in each portion. So that's like the fat is probably distributed in all three, right? So that's what your plate should look like. And actually, I think there are people like that sell, their whole coaching philosophy is in like eating out of these portioned plates, like the ones that we use for kids. And you can even like maybe you already have one at home. You can even get it off Amazon, and you tell yourself, this is what I'm going to eat every single time. When you have those divided plates, I actually do have one of my ladies doing that. She's 2 little kids, so she has tons of these plates. And she said it really helps her because she has a tendency to overeat. And she also usually is finishing off her little like toddlers leftovers all the time. So when she started putting it in a plate and it's visual, it really helped her, stick to her portions. And it also empowered her because you don't have to wait till the end of the day to figure out like you didn't eat enough of some certain things. So this also happens with some of the ladies, is like, and sometimes I get text messages late evening, hey, I still have like my protein portions to go and I still have my carb portions to go, what should I eat? And so if you actually use those divided plates, with like 50% and 25%, then every meal you'll hit your hand portions. And then by the end, like you should be good. Like you shouldn't really feel the need to like make up for something. Okay. All right. So like I said, in a plate, the general goal is the vegetable quality, carb, protein, and healthy fat. And it's relatively easy to do when you're making it yourself, right? So what you can do with that plate, what you can do with your meals, then your main meals, what actually not what you can, but what you should be doing is take an extra handful of vegetables and dump it on your plate. Okay. So they could be steamed or raw or a salad, whatever it is. So whatever you're eating already, just add more veggies to it, because we are, as as like humans these days, we're just not getting enough vegetables. And then tell yourself, I'm going to eat my veggies first, no matter how hard it is. Now, how do you get into the habit of eating more vegetables? And that is through not waiting until you're super starving to eat. Okay, so it's been like 3-4 hours, and you know that if you wait any longer, you're going to be really hungry. So eat before, so that you can actually enjoy it. Otherwise, what happens is and for a lot of moms, like we keep pushing eating. Like we love to eat, but we also push it away a lot. Like we're constantly like, oh yeah, after I finish this, after I do that, when I get to sit down, let me finish, this task. Maybe I'll go do something else. And then when we sit down today, we're just so hungry that we'll eat anything that comes our way. So trying to eat before you get hungry helps you enjoy your food. And again, those hormones are released, at the right time. So try that, eating when like eating a little bit before you're like super hungry, and then prioritizing vegetables, starting off with those. All right, so let's talk about beans, lentils, or legumes, right? Are they protein or carbs? So I place legumes and lentils in both the protein and carb categories. So where would you count them? So it depends on the meal itself and your eating style, right? So if someone is wholly plant-based or vegan, then it's likely that their legumes or lentils will count as their protein source, as it's likely the most protein-dense food that they're consuming. But it can also count as both under certain conditions. So for example, think of it this way. You choose the most protein-rich food as the protein source, right? And then slot the other items from there. So for example, chicken with beans, broccoli, and olive oil, right? So your chicken with beans is, chicken is the protein, then the beans will become the carbs, and of course the broccoli are the vegetables, and olive oil is the fat. Another example, beans with rice, broccoli, and olive oil. So over here, as you can guess, that the beans will count as your protein source, rice is your carbs, the cupped broccoli is your veggie. Now, let's say you get 2 servings of beans, right? So if you're eating 2 servings of beans with broccoli and olive oil, then you would count 1 serving of bean as your protein, the second serving of beans as your carbs, and then the veggie broccoli and the oil and the fat olive oil. Okay. Another example, rice with broccoli and olive oil. There's no protein here. Okay. So it's going to be carbs, veggies, and fats. And then another example, beans with broccoli and olive oil. So it would depend on the eater. So beans, broccoli, and olive oil. If you are like what do you call it, plant-based eater, you only eat plants, this would count as a protein. Otherwise, it would count as a carb. Okay, so this is just, again, I hope it's not confusing. Just feel free to ask questions, but this is just because certain people, I know, like, for example, even in Indian cuisine as well, like many of them are vegetarian and they eat a lot of dal, like a lot of lentils. So what do you do? Like lentils are actually carb heavy, but they're actually counted as a protein source. So they're, because they never eat meat and, you know, other like um, animal sources, their entire metabolism is very, very different. Okay. So some other notes I have, dry carbs, they tend to double in size when cooked, right? So a quarter cup of dry oats is half cup cooked. A quarter cup of dry rice is half cup cooked. And then again, a quarter cup of dry whole wheat pasta is 1 cup cooked. So when you're not able to use your hand portions, then it helps to, you know this a little bit. So I hope like that provided some clarity. I think, let me see, I wanted to share my, uh-oh. Yeah, so anyways, this is, you know, no, I don't want this to be complicated. I want you to really enjoy this process, like, you know, trying to figure out like how much to eat using your hands, you know, so don't overthink it. Okay, the most important thing you need to do is stick with your recommended portions every single day, right? So there's so many methods of tracking, like Weight Watchers gives points, right? And people doing Weight Watchers, for example, the ones who are most consistent see the most results. So at the end of the day, this is about consistency. So don't be like, oh, you know, I didn't do my hand portions today. I just ate whatever came my way, and then come up to me and say, hey, I'm not losing weight. You have to be consistent every single day of the week, just like how we pray 5 times a day. While you're doing this program, after you're done, you can do whatever you want. You will not, but here's the thing, you will not want to do whatever you want, because by then you would have built solid habits because you're practicing them every single day. But while you're in the program, you do need that self-discipline, and you have the ability to do that. Don't let the all or nothing mentality rob you of like your success. Okay, many times you're going to fall up, you know, fall down 7, get up 8. You're going to constantly be pressurized, you know, into eating certain things that you may not want to eat. So be strong and just say, I'm doing a challenge, you know, or I'm doing something. Just say I'm doing a challenge. Nobody says anything to that. They're like, oh yeah, that's great, you're doing a challenge. Okay, just say I'm doing a challenge, I'm doing this for myself. I want to be a better me. And to have these words in your head as well. Okay, losing weight is very, very like emotional for many of us, right? Because we have such a strong relationship with food. But the reason we have a strong relationship with food is because food is because it's a cover for other things like stress, you know, boredom, mindlessness, and things like that. So we have to break that cover, and we have to give it, you know, when we're stressed, then we need to do breathing practice. We need to drink some water. We need to lie down. We need to write down our thoughts. So you have to pick your biggest problem, right? So, for example, what my biggest problem is, I cannot have like anything sugary sweet in my house, because there goes my willpower out the window. Like the minute I see it, I want it, right? So in order to solve this, I just don't bring things into my house, except like 2 days ago, yesterday, my kids won like a huge jar. It had like 87 like chocolates in there, candy, and literally half of it is already gone. It's unbelievable. This is how we are. We as humans, like, you know, have to face the world. We have to fight our fight. We need to feed our kids. We need to keep the house clean. We have to do like a million other things. And we can't like handle it when we have like these temptations in the house. So really let's like ease our burden and let's say no to these things. Okay, the grocery shelves will still have all of these things stocked for when we're done our weight loss program. Okay, everything will be waiting for you. So but right now we're gonna say, okay, what else? Like for me, again, stress eating as well, right? Like I'm stressed, I just need to munch and snack on something. So now I do like I fast consistently, and fasting is that one thing that super, super helps me manage it, because I am at home and I used to be right next to my kitchen working, but now I work in the basement, which is good because it's created a distance and I'm less likely to find myself in the pantry every half an hour. But fasting really, really helps me. And the days are short, so anybody can fast now to create that space. So if I'm stressed and I'm fasting, then I know that I can, lie down or breathe or do something else in order to take my mind away from it. You have to tell yourself, hey, when I'm stressed next time, I'm going to do this. When I'm hangry next time, I'm going to drink some water. When I am bored, I'm going to pick up a book to read, or I'm going to journal. When I am bored, I'm going to go to sleep early, or I'm going to get to bed. Just different things. If you find yourself snacking a lot when you're watching something, then while you sit down to watch, grab like your bowl of veggies and snack from there. So set yourself up for success. Okay. When you do your 5-minute action, that's something you can choose. It's how can I set myself up for success? So I know where my downfalls are, and I'm going to plan accordingly for them. All right. So I think that's all I had. I will send everything that I talked about, I will send it out to you as well.
Okay, quick question here, Humaira.
Yeah.
We were talking about how legumes and lentils would be counted as carbs if you eat meat. But what if on that day I am actually using it as my protein source? So usually, sometimes for dinner, if I'm cooking lentils, I don't cook meat because I feel that lentils are protein.
But that'll be your protein source. So like if the whole day, So in that meal, let's say you put 2 portions of lentils, and one will be considered as a protein, the second will be considered as a carb.
And the portion of lentils would still be used by using my palm, or would it be using?
I would do palm. It'll be
like half a cup.
Yeah, half a cup.
Okay.
So whatever I talked about, I've typed it up, so I'll send it out to you as well. And anytime, just ask me questions. Even if you wanna, somebody was making kebabs earlier today, and she sent me a picture of that. She's like, "Hey, how do I know if this is like one portion?" Right. So feel free to like message me anytime and ask me those questions. Wow, I just realized it's like I've been going for like 45 minutes. So this again, I'm really sleepy. Like that time change is totally, totally. I don't know. Normally I'm good, but this time I'm just tired. So, and you girls should also get to bed. That's late.
Hello.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask you, how do I count my roti?
So roti, it would be like half a roti would approximately be 1 portion. However,
so is it like pita bread or?
Yeah, it's pita. However, the size matters because there's like the big pita and then there's like the small pita, right? So what I'm gonna do is, where is this grams thing that I had written down? Okay, let me just. It would be like a smaller size, like the regular roti would be 2 carb portions. And then the big pita would probably be 4. However, what you can do is like if you're buying it and it's not handmade, then you can look at the grams and then compare it. I can't. I closed that window, so I lost it. But I'll send it out to you for sure.
Okay.
So you're saying it depends on the weight of the
the size. Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Because if it's like, let's say it's like a 10 gram versus 20 grams, like the big size is 20 grams, that's double, right? Okay, sorry, my Chrome is frozen, but I will send you the weight, and then you can take a look at the label and see how much it is, and then divide that up accordingly, and then you know it for future. There are low carb roti options. Walmart carries it, and I don't know if Superstore does or not, but I've seen it at Walmart. The brand name is Flat Out.
So Humaira, I usually bring whole grain roti at home. Would it still be the same portion size?
It will be, because whole grain is actually more calories than plain white or plain brown, because it has other grains, and grains are actually very calorie dense. So for example, you know, there's like this bread, Country Harvest has like chickpea and lentil bread, and one slice is 120 calories. Because it has all this good stuff. It has seeds, and it has chickpeas and lentils, like all of this. It's good for you, but it is more calories. Whereas if you buy the blue menu, like the lowest calorie bread that I found at Superstore was like one slice for 50 calories. And it's like this tiny, and it's like flimsy. It's got nothing in it. Like it doesn't even satisfy you. Like I actually would rather eat that 120, but again, like slowly eating until I'm 80% full, practicing all those habits, enjoying it more than eating like a small bread. However, to be honest, I eat the small bread because I'm not always able to like slow down to eat. And also you can eat a little bit more, right? So if I ate 3 of those, it's 150 calories, 3 of the small slices. But if I ate 2 of the big ones, the ones that have like the seeds and they're super healthy, that's going to be 240 calories.
Okay.
So that's where it's like not, you know, like you have to decide what you're willing to give up, right? So don't have to give up everything, but you know, you're like, oh yeah, this is not a big deal. I can swap my bread out, which I found that this wasn't a big deal. But some things that are really hard for me to give up are my treats. So I need like healthier options, and yeah. All right,
One
thanks.
more question.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to know that the smoothies that I'm making, if I'm having that for breakfast,
Yeah.
what do I do with that smoothie then? Like, how do I, what all?
It would probably be count as 2 carbs, like if it's like a full thing. Yeah, they're really full. So 8 ounces, you can, I mean, it depends. You could make it 1 or 2. If you're using water as your liquid base, or milk, if it's whole milk, or if it's yogurt, then it would be 2, because yogurt again would increase the calories. So depending on what you're using as your, what's in there. Another option is to, if you, to see, like before you make the smoothie, you're like, hey, this is like half a cup of, or like, this is a cup portion of veggie, oh man. This is your veggies, and if you put this many veggies in, like let's say you're packed spinach and it's like this much, or you're putting in like a banana, a whole banana, that's like 1 portion of carbs, right? And then you can decide it that way as well. Okay. Anything else? No, all good. Okay, thank you so much for your questions. Honestly, anything comes to your way, just message me anytime, okay? Even if you forgot what I said. So I will post a recording for this, so you can listen to it again, and I will for sure send you my notes, inshallah, through email. And yeah, we'll continue, inshallah, Friday at 4 p.m. And if you're not able to make it live, you can send me your questions in advance, and I'll cover it in the group call. Okay, I'm gonna hang up because I'm gonna sleep. Okay, take care. Assalamu alaikum.